Meet me in the foyer.
Welcome back to the Cinema Foyer, friends. I'm so glad you could find me, and time to meet me in the foyer once again for episode 13 of our film review show. Unlucky for some, but not for you, as here we are with more news, reviews, and chat, and even more luckily, there's Linda, just there, ready to share her reviews of some exciting new releases. How are you doing, Linda?
Very well, thank you very much. How are you?
Not too bad, yes. Autumn has arrived with a vengeance,
Oh,
it seems, but we shall soldier on.
I don't believe in autumn. The summer's coming back. I can feel it. I
Summer
can feel
part
it.
two.
Yeah,
This,
it
yeah,
will. It will come back. It's going to be sunny again. I'm sure of it.
I believe you. I believe you indeed. Yeah. No, September's normally quite good, and
Yeah,
August is very strange. So yeah,
yeah,
yeah, we're all set for a brilliant September, definitely. And not just weather-wise, but cinematically as well. There's some great new films coming out.
yeah.
Lots of new trailers dropping. Lots of interesting news arrived just today, in fact.
Yeah.
But what are you going to share with us this week, Linda?
This week I'm going to be reviewing a couple of films. So one film that's not opening this week, but next week. So I'm going to leave that till the end, and it's quite an exciting one. And then I'm going to review one film that has left me extremely disappointed, and another film that has done absolutely nothing for me.
Okay, so it's an
That's all I'm prepared to say.
an intriguing sell there. Well, of course, and plus that, we do bring you our box office top 10, the latest movie news, and I'll be seeing if another classic movie can pass its medical.
Meet me in the foyer.
So, why don't we begin, as we always like to do, with Linda? So, ladies and gentlemen, first, as if by magic, Linda will, before your very eyes and without the aid of a safety net, conjure up a live review of Michael Chaves's new supernatural horror, the ninth and apparently final installment. But if you believe that from a horror franchise, you'll believe anything. It's the Conjuring franchise, Last Rites.
Every case is different. Every family's different.
It's the first one that we ever encountered.
We're in the home of Janet and Jack Schmerl.
And something's changed. Something's different. In your house is a demon.
It wants to kill us!
8 people have experienced this.
Don't touch anything.
8 people are not crazy.
I'm sorry.
Linda.
This will be the movie that has done absolutely nothing for me. I'm actually quite surprised this franchise has lasted this long, and it's kind of like to the point where it's completely jumped the shark. And there are so many. It is an extremely popular franchise, and people just keep wanting more and more and more. And I think there have been some kind of okay-ish films in the franchise, and there have been some absolute stinkers, and there are some of them that I've actually felt kind of scared watching. Let me tell you, it's not the case in this one. So it is a film that's been it is basically, I don't know if you remember in 2013 when the first Conjuring movie came out. There were you heard from people, there were headlines about the behavior of people whilst watching this movie. The shouting, it was almost as if people had forgotten how to act in the cinemas. It was almost as if it was the very first time where people were pushed to act out, and we're not used to it here in the UK and in Europe in general. This It's more of an American thing, the shouting and the screaming and exchanging words with characters on screen. That's not a very European thing, but that happened on the first few screenings of The Conjuring because it was genuinely a rather scary movie. I found it very creepy, but that doesn't mean that I think it's a fantastic movie. I found it really creepy because it used some things that we call tropes now that weren't very super tropey then. It's good 12 years ago. So I mean, I know it's not that long ago, but it has aged very badly. That movie. If you watch it again, you think, "Oh, I can't believe I was ever scared to watch this." We've had a few movies along the way, and all the ramifications, and people call it the Conjuring universe, whatever that means. You know, like people like to build up universes with the Nun and the you know, I think the last one of this particular narrative is The Devil Made Me Do It from a few years ago. This basically what it does, it's trying to close the chapter on the whole thing and give us a kind of a send off. But is it really a send off? Is it really the end? So Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson are back as the Warrens, famously based on a real couple of I want to say it's not so much ghost hunters, but paranormal experts who are in real life, if you read up on them, they are two quacky people basically, and who sold this idea that they could solve mysteries, you know, paranormal and supernatural mysteries. Real people, and you know, you can read up on them, and I'm sure anyone who is familiar with the franchise knows about them. So the couple once again played by Vera Farmiga, as I said, and Patrick Wilson. We have Mia Tomlinson, a newcomer, plays Judy Warren, the daughter of Ed and Lauren Warren, and Ben Hardy plays her ex-cop boyfriend. So you get the feeling that from the offset that they are setting it up for the next sort of level of Conjuring stories that don't star Farmiga and Wilson, and you know, it's understandable. I mean, they're two absolutely brilliant actors who've been in some really fantastic dramas and who are really respected as actors, who have found themselves attached to this franchise, which is fine. I think if you take the sort of the motto is one for them and one for me, it's fine. I think it's fine to be featured in a long running franchise, as long as alongside it you have other things, and they both have done other things brilliantly. The story is so after years and years of the couple have taken time off, and they're no longer chasing the paranormal. They've decided they're out of the business until a family in Pennsylvania, I think it's Pennsylvania, starts being haunted in their home. And that family is also based on a real life family called the Smells, who have apparently also been haunted. There's a real life haunting with you know, news cameras following them in their homes, and you know, and the Warrens famously also went to their home to help them. And having said all that, I was left as much as I was rocked by the very first one, which I genuinely found extremely scary. This left me cold completely. Nothing. I think it's beautifully done. I think it's the cinematography is really good, and the way it's filmed is really good. The performances are brilliant, but there is nothing there. I thought the storyline was like wafer thin, and I found the sort of, if they were going to set it up for a follow-up to the franchise, there were other ways of doing it, and this for me didn't really work. It's simply not scary. I'm not going to give away too much of the storyline, because it's best to leave it for people to discover. But it's, you know, in a world where we've got weapons and you know, the witch and all the Ariasta horrors and barbarian, and I think it's very lazy to carry on making movies where it's bang bang crash crash and it's like jump scares. if you're going to give us jump scares, give us real jump scares. When you watch a movie like Weapons, you can tell it's the craft of making people scared doesn't should not just rely on like sound and jump scares and boom and crash. And I think we've, as film goers, as fans of cinema, we've grown out of that whole thing, and I feel like this franchise is still stuck in that pre-Ari Aster, pre-hereditary time, and it's really time to move on. I think if they are going to succeed with whatever they're trying to do with the next one, which I am assuming is going to feature Mia Tomlinson as Judy Warren, because Judy Warren obviously has inherited her mother's a sixth sense or sort of ability to read through the paranormal. If they are setting it up for that, I urge them and I pray that they actually think about it in a different way and make it. Obviously, these movies, including all the sort of the nun stuff and the doll, whatever it's called. I think all of those these movies have a really good following, and they have a huge fandom. But at the same time, if you do not move with the times, you're going to be left behind. And I feel like it's going to soon be left behind. It wasn't a complete disaster because I think it looked beautiful and it was really, really well acted. But on a whole, it adds nothing to the genre at all whatsoever. We've moved on from all that nonsense, and I was not super impressed by it.
Fair enough. And you should know you are the horror queen, the horror expert on the panel. I mean, obviously, I'm not the horror fan, and I've managed not to evade seeing all of these films. I've not
Oh
seen
my
any.
goodness, really?
They never appealed. It always seemed so like paranormal activity crossed with poltergeist to me, and it just sort
Have
of.
you seen The Exorcist?
Oh, of course, yes.
Okay, well, if you've been able to watch The Exorcist, you can watch The Conjuring, I'm sure.
I would just.
Yes.
I'm afraid I would find it rather boring, and
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I mean, I think loads of them try to sort of steal from The Exorcist, including this one, to be honest with you,
Mm,
and fails miserably. I think when you have a film like that that so many people try to emulate, I mean, including Hereditary,
mm.
um, although I have Hereditary for me is one of the best movies ever. I don't know what's happened to Ari Aster's filmmaking, and I wish he would go back to his, horror or originality, because trying to make films like, his last one just doesn't work. And I just, I feel like I really need another horror from Ari Aster because they're really clever. And anyway, but not to sort of go on about it, but I just feel like all of these movies owe a debt to The Exorcist in one way or another. And it's diluted throughout the years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I think that's fair. Although I would say, um, as a non-expert, I think that they also owe a huge debt to Poltergeist because of that
Yeah.
whole investigation side of it, and such a hugely influential film in the 80s. And then I didn't, I didn't really follow horror that closely, but it did seem that Paranormal Activity reignited the genre
Mm.
back in the early
Yeah.
century, and that
Yeah.
spawned a franchise, and this spawned out of that. And
Yeah.
um,
Or the Blair Witch as well,
yes, good point. Yes, yes,
I mean, I personally not a big fan of the Paranormal Activity films. I think they're terrible movies, very lazy.
yeah,
Uh, but I loved the Blair Witch Project because I think not knowing what was going on was really good. And it was the first time, that kind of found footage
yeah,
genre really got a start, a proper start. And it was so well done and so brilliant. And just remembering how people were talking about it as if it was real,
mm,
and like it was that kind of excitement of the genre. And then finding yourself with these, straight were the Warner Brothers Conjuring universe movies, which are at best lazily made, but at the same time, I feel like if they have a following, there's a reason why they're making them, and there's a reason why people keep watching them. It's because it's people like to be scared from the dawn of time. People like to go to the cinema to be scared, and but why not? You know, who am I to say no?
No, I mean, even I saw Blair Witch in the cinema, and was thoroughly entertained by it. And remember that because of course you're right at the dawn of the internet then, so you had those viral videos going out and people wondering if it was real or not. And as I say, I agree. I think the first Paranormal Activity was worthy. It was a decent effort. It certainly creeped me out and felt like again like a sort of step change a little bit, and then perhaps Weapons is another step change in the horror genre, and we're into a new era and see where we go from here. But,
Yeah.
I mean, as I
And I
said,
think Get Out, films like Get Out, and I think when the horror genre embraced the social sort of like um, commentary side of things is where it started to really move things from like the simple just this is a movie about a demonic possession and that's all it is about. But as we know, The Exorcist isn't just about that. It's about so many things. But if The Omen is just about demonic possession. Many movies are just about that, and I find horror far more interesting when tries to say something else rather than what's just written on the script.
yes, actually, I watched The Omen just last year because I happen to live directly opposite one of the churches
Oh, wow.
in the filming. So that was mostly just me going, "Oh, there's my house." And it's interesting that we still get the classics as well at the same time because of course we've had Nosferatu and we've got Frankenstein coming up very soon. I don't know how horror it will be, but presumably The Hands of Del Toro would be pretty horror.
Well, let's see. I mean, it's getting mixed reviews, which is a bit sad because it's opened at Venice. And I tend to take reviews written during a film festival with a pinch of salt because they're almost never right, bar a couple, and people get way too excited or too tired halfway through the festival and start getting really grumpy and giving out bad reviews to things that deserve better. So I have a thing with I tend to just leave it, until I've seen it myself, and so I'm a big Del Toro fan, and I find it very difficult to believe that he couldn't make a good movie out of Frankenstein. So let's see.
Yeah, it's very interesting. He's certainly a visionary. I find him patchy. I think is how I would assess him. But what do I know? And I totally agree with your pinch of salt on the festivals because, of course, I do the same with the standing ovations that you see relentlessly. It means
Absolute nonsense.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Linda. So that was our first choice for those of you looking to head to the box offices this week. And if you're of a horror persuasion, I'm sure you'll be joining in for that 9th installment in The Conjuring, regardless. And because you horror guys just can't get enough. You love that stuff. It's probably the strongest performing genre in cinema for the last sort of 20 years.
Yeah.
I was only thinking today, where have all the political thrillers gone and stuff like that? It's more my speed. But anyway.
Well, it's because whatever is happening in the White House right now is actually beats any kind of drama or thriller or because it's so ludicrous what's going on. It's almost like not worth even sort of making something up.
It's a good point. Good point.
Meet me in the foyer.
Right, so let's take a look at the box office top 10 this week, and it's an odd week with a few re-releases and oddities in there. So we'll run down that quickly. At 10, Loka Chapter 1, that was subtitled Chandra, an Indian Malayalam language superhero movie. At 9, Marvel's Fantastic Four clings on to the top 10 for a 6th week, and it's now just crept into the top 10 highest earning films of the year. At 8, it's re-released 20th anniversary for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, what I have to say is one of the sort of more middling ones in the middle of the franchise.
I like all of them, to be honest with you.
I will happily watch them all. I happily watched them all again in January, but yeah, sort of.
It's about the characters, isn't it? It's about sort of watching them grow and sort of become adults, and I really like that franchise. Yeah.
There's definitely, I mean, and hence they're doing it all again as we speak. At 7, Andre Rieu's 2025 Maastricht concert.
Okay.
At 6, Caught Stealing, Darren Aronofsky's new film, reviewed by Linda on last week's show. At 5, Nisha Gunatra's Freakier Friday remains in the top 5, now having taken £7.4 million. At 4, Sam Rockwell's gang, The Bad Guys, still raking in the money.
It's insane.
12 million.
I just find absolutely insane. It's because there are no other animations out at the moment. It's insane. It's such a non-story, like bizarre.
Good cast though. Good cast.
Yeah.
Not that the kids would notice that. Obviously.
Nothing, Never mind.
At 3, a far better film, Zach Crager's Weapons, starring Josh Brolin, Julie Garner, and Alden Ehrenreich. I keep getting that wrong. It's now topped over £10 million. At 2, another re-release that I gave you a hint of a couple of weeks ago, Jaws 50th anniversary.
Very pleased to see that in number 2. I saw that earlier this week, and that was just gobsmacked by it. Brilliant.
Taken over £1 million again.
It's been shown on XD around the country, so
Right.
people are just like watching it. I've still not been to the XD screening, so that
No, a colleague of mine today said that it was very good in 4XD, although obviously better in the second half of the film when they actually get on the boat that's not big enough. And at the top of the charts in its first week of release, reviewed by Linda just last week, The Roses, with its 2 million take for this week alone.
Tis to us.
No one can defeat us, dear.
I've always said that.
How was your day?
He got fired. Fired?
More champagne for me, please.
You're a failure. Women don't like that.
If you need a shoulder or an inner thigh to lean on.
We both said things we didn't mean.
I meant them!
I meant them too!
My God, you don't care if I'm dead!
The Roses.
That's the box office top 10 as we stand.
Meet me in the foyer.
So yes, as Linda's bringing us 3 treats this week, why don't we rush back to her immediately and see what she's got in store? And she's galloping in with another review. Yes, Wild Horses couldn't keep her away from the cinema, and this time she rides in with Daniel Minahan's On Swift Horses.
So the thing about poker is cards aren't just cards. What's right here is pieces of time. There's what's on the table. And there's what's coming down the line. Real gamblers only got one solemn obligation. Staying well informed.
My brother's not what you think. The world Julius lives in, it's not like ours. He has passions of his own.
What does that mean?
He's just not like us. Open your eyes.
An odd film this is, a very odd film. A film that I really was rooting for because, look, Daniel Minahan might not have made a ton of movies, but he's known for doing so much in television, including like 6 Feet Under, Deadwood, Grey's Anatomy. Big Love, all these absolutely huge, like really respected film TV series throughout True Blood, throughout the 90s and early 2000s. Yeah, actually, no, let's say 2000s, really. So yeah, he's someone who knows his stuff and he knows exactly what he's doing. But I have to say, I was left so disappointed by this. So this stars Daisy Edgar-Jones, who we all love. She's brilliant. She was in Normal People and When the Crawdads, Where the Crawdads Sing, and also the film stars Jacob Elordi, who's been all sorts of things, and people absolutely love him again. Will Poulter is in this. Will Poulter, I love him and everything. Diego Calva, who's in Babylon, again, brilliant. Sasha Calle, who I don't really know too much about, must admit. But yeah, a really strong young cast of up and coming, brilliant people in Hollywood, who are seen as the new superstars of Hollywood. So this is an adaptation of a novel by Shannon Profile from 2019, and it's about a woman, a young woman, played by Daisy Edgar-Jones. Her name is Muriel, this takes place straight after the end of the Korean War, and it's like sort of very much in the vein of East of Eden, sort of, like giant, very very sort of good looking, a film about like young people embracing the aesthetic of the 50s, embracing sort of liberties. They discover freedom of sexuality, freedom of becoming themselves suddenly. And so the story revolves around Muriel and her soon-to-be husband, Lee, played by Will Poulter, and they're chasing the Californian dream after he returns from Korean War. So that their plans are almost thwarted overnight by Lee's magnetic brother, Julius, played by Jacob Elordi, who arrives and charms everyone around him, and charms including Muriel, who suddenly falls in love with him, but he only stays for 24 hours, and the next day nothing happens between them, but she's really taken by him and his completely different way of looking at the world, because her husband to be Lee is all he wants to do is move to California, make a life for himself and his wife, and buy a house and have four children, white picket fence house in a nice suburb of Los Angeles, and live a happy life. That's not what Julius wants from life. He wants excitement. He wants, there's darkness inside him, or is it darkness, or is it something more? There's excitement about life. So he leaves the next day, doesn't go with them to California, but heads to find work in a casino in Las Vegas, where he falls into a secret romance with the charismatic co-worker Henry. So obviously Julius is secretly gay, and he's in his past he's worked as a male escort, and he's had some trysts with men, but nothing really happened. But he falls madly in love with Henry. Meanwhile, back in California, Muriel begins a double life of gambling at the racetracks, and she makes tons of money suddenly, but keeps it from her husband. But she also finds passion in a neighbor. And I'm going to leave it there, because it's as muddled as all the subplots of this story are. It's always better to find out for yourself what's going to happen next. I just thought this had potential because it looks beautiful, and they all look so gorgeous, and they all dressed beautifully, and I love that era. I'm a real 50s fan, and I think that era of the 50s is probably one of my favorite in cinema as well, because that's where all my excitement from the aesthetic of the decade comes from. And I think this had, as I said, had potential to be so much more. And I think what's wrong with it is that the book is about an atmospheric feeling. The book, if you're reading this novel, you don't mind getting lost in the sort of intertwinement of these characters, and they're coming in and out of their lives, and it's episodic and it's excitement, because books are not like movies. They're two different things. And I always say this: some books are just better left alone, and that kind of atmospheric feeling is better left alone. What would have been better is if this had been adapted with in a way to fit more of a cinematic story, and there are just too many threads left. It's too muddled. It doesn't work. And I just wish, I mean, there are some really beautifully filmed scenes and the rest, but at the same time, what's it trying to say? I think it's a film that doesn't really know what it wants to say, doesn't really, it hasn't decided what story it wants to say, and that is the fault. A good screenwriter, a good adaptation is knowing where to veer away from the original text into something more cinematic, and I think this film has failed to do that, unfortunately. Yeah.
Oh, it's a shame. It does sound, from your telling of the story, like a TV series more than a film, to be honest.
It's the same, I think we've had the where the crowdies sing. It's the same thing, It's very sort of Mills and Booney, It's very kind of like, I just there are stories in here that I would have absolutely loved to see through. There's a storyline about how Muriel decides to sort of make her own money, and she starts betting on horses, and she becomes an expert and knows when to stop. And I think I would have loved to pursue that storyline. And as you say, actually, you are right. You might be right. That I think it's because the director is so used to making like these big, long-lasting TV series. His ability to make a feature basically took a bit of a knock because of it. Yeah, I'm not super impressed by this, and I wanted to stay with those characters because I was really excited by them. I think Diego Calva is just incredible in this. He's like probably the best thing in it. That character of Henry, I would have loved to know more about him and follow his life, and this would have been suited. Actually, you are right. You are 100% right. This have been suited more as a film series, as a TV series, definitely.
And I don't want to be mean, but I wonder if he's a TV director. The gap between TV and film has closed so much over the last 20 years. More and more, you're seeing actors work in both areas, and it not being a sort of a judgment on their career. But some people are just suited to certain formats. And, as you said, he's done some amazing TV. He's even worked on
just incredible stuff.
Game of Thrones, and one of my favorite series of all time, Deadwood.
I love Deadwood as well. Yeah.
Wow, incredible. But even the Deadwood movie, which he directed, it still feels quite TV. It doesn't quite break out into a cinematic format. Yeah. But I'll keep the faith in him because he's clearly got a lot of talent. But
obviously, and I just to say, as I was sort of watching these characters on screen, I was excited by watching them because they're played by these really good looking actors, and really interesting people. But at the same time, it kind of, you didn't know where to look. Too many subplots going ahead, and there's this really exciting storyline about the beginning of this kind of suburban life in California. That excited me. There's like a whole new towns are being built around with people moving from other areas of the country to go and populate them. That I would have watched. There's so many things about this. Just too many strands.
Shame. That is a shame. But well, thank you very much, Linda. Another interesting review and another potential option because it is in cinemas as we speak.
Meet me in the foyer.
So now it's my turn to bring you a classic movie of the week. And once again, I travel back in time to my teenage years and a film celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. So it might actually be a film that you've not heard of. Not you, Linda, of course you will have heard of it. But it didn't do fantastically well. It's not a major studio production. It wasn't a huge indie breakout. It was a small British comedy that, even adjusted for inflation, only took 1.3 million at the box office. But due to it coming out in 1995 and featuring an up-and-coming British comic, an iconic Hollywood star, and some other fantastic faces from the world of British acting, it caught my imagination in quite a few of us, and I think it became a bit of a cult hit. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about Peter Chelsom's second film, Funny Bones, from 1995.
I'm looking for something, and I don't know what it is. Is this your first time in Blackpool?
No, I was born here, lived here till I was 6.
What would it be, 30 years? It's heyday then. Sammy Davis Jr., Bob Hope.
And the sun shone every day, right?
I feel I should tell you where I am.
You don't have to tell us where you are.
I want to tell you where I am.
Okay, where are you?
I'm in Blackpool.
I'm coming over.
Don't do it, Dad. Please don't do it.
I love this town. What sort of thing do you want to see?
Whatever's funny in Blackpool.
And you're prepared to pay actual cash?
Bingo. Old routines. Funny routines. Funny people.
Jokes?
No. No jokes. Jokes, I'm gonna leave to George Fox.
I thought he died in Las Vegas.
I died in Las Vegas. Did I say something funny? I gotta run.
This is Bruno, Thomas, and Jack Parker, funniest people Blackpool ever saw.
Great. Where can I get your act?
This isn't just buying a few jokes. This is buying their lives.
Where were you born?
Blackpool.
Why Blackpool?
Because I wanted to be near my mother. There's got to be a lot of angry people in this town when they find out what you're really doing.
Stop. My father stole material.
I don't want to hear any more funny stories.
We were funny people. We didn't have to tell funny stories. We were funny. We had funny bones. Stop!
I never saw anything funny that didn't cause pain. Find Jack Parker now.
This man is a known bona fide maniac.
Oh, Tommy, what did you expect to find?
This all getting a bit French. And I don't like it.
I think we can help each other. Show me whatever you want. Take me to the edge. You can't shock me.
They're not gonna stand and cheer for you no matter what you do.
I'm not gonna play safe anymore. I'm gonna take it to the edge and do pirouettes.
You were great. Did they come to laugh or being bombed?
Have you lived here all your life?
Not yet.
Great movie.
I thought you'd know it, Linda. I thought you would. So as I say, written, directed and produced by Peter Chelsom, co-produced by Simon Fields and co-written by Peter Flannery. It's a film set in Las Vegas and Blackpool, England, which also has a little subplot connecting it with France. It's the story of Tommy Fawkes, son of British comedy legend George Fawkes. After his own Las Vegas comedy act flops with his beloved father in the audience, Tommy returns to Blackpool, the English seaside resort where he spent the summers of his childhood. Disguised with a new identity, Tommy intends to seek out unique performers and purchase their acts. During this time, Tommy encounters his father's old comedy partners, Bruno and Thomas Parker. Once great performers, they now work as ghouls in a ghost train at Blackpool Pleasure Beach Circus. Bruno's son Jack is a brilliant comic, but psychologically troubled. He has also been manipulated by a corrupt policeman known as Sharky into stealing valuable wax eggs from smugglers. Tommy meets Jack's mother, Katie, and even though Tommy is in disguise, she suspects that he is somehow connected to the family. So this film, as I said, has a wonderful cast. Oliver Platt takes the lead as Tommy Fawkes, or co-lead, I should say, with Lee Evans as Jack Parker in his debut feature. The wonderful, I adore this man. I just will watch everything he's in. Richard Griffiths appears as Jim Minty. Oliver Reed makes a small appearance as Dolly Hopkins.
I forgot Oliver Reed was in this.
Leslie Caron appears as Katie Parker. Jerry Lewis appears as George Fawkes. Ian McNeice appears as Stanley Sharkey. Terence Rigby as Billy Mann. William Hawkins as Al. Tiki Holgado as Battiston. And George Carl plays Thomas Parker, with Freddie Davis playing Bruno Parker. I'm going to stop there and just say George Carl is a genius. His physical comedy is staggering, and what he does in small moments in this film is fantastic. But what he could do in his stand-up it's worth YouTube searching for him. It just give him a microphone stand and a hat, and he could entertain you for 20 minutes. It's an incredible physical comedy, and very well cast as Lee Evans, uncle slash father slash you'll find out. So I love lots of films, but I adore British films about the sort of eccentricity of England and English people, something that sort of captures the odd, peculiar Englishness, which Funny Bones definitely does. All of Chisholm's films are full of heart and soul, the eccentricity I mentioned, the culture that brings us together, and the mistakes we make that drive us apart. It's a sort of tale of discovering your roots and your destiny. I've also always loved Evans. His jerky movements. He's like a sort of animated character. In the way he sort of interacts with people and objects and sort of fails to fit in, it always made me laugh. So he was just exploding when this film came along. He had done a few stand-up shows that were coming out on DVD at the time, and just incredible routines. There are some scenes in here I think are absolutely sublime. I've already mentioned his uncles and their physical routines. Evans has at least 3 scenes in this which just make me roar with laughter every single time. His interview with the psychologist is just a work of genius. And Oliver Reed, as I say, makes a wonderful cameo. Jerry Lewis is great in it, and Oliver Platt holds it together, really. He's absolutely wonderful. It's interesting. So I grew up watching lots of black and white movies as a kid, lots of George Formby, Norman Wisdom, and Jerry Lewis. And all 3 seem appropriate here, because Formby always connected with Blackpool. Evans is unfairly, I think, compared with Norman Wisdom, because he's better than that. But I always enjoyed watching Norman Wisdom films as a child. And Jerry Lewis it's probably his best film since King of Comedy. And as I say, from his earliest days with Martin, just a genius of physical comedy. I've already mentioned Richard Griffiths. His part's very small but wonderful, and as he improves every film he's in, absolutely. It's got a great soundtrack with a sort of mix of old blues and jazz numbers, including Charles Trenet, John Lee Hooker, Duke Ellington, Memphis Minnie, Willie Dixon, Eartha Kitt, Washboard Sam, and Raymond Scott. It's interesting because very much like his first film, which I'll come back to, it's kind of hard to know exactly when the film is set. You sort of think it's the modern day, but then other times you think, is this set in the 50s? Because of the costumes and the cars and the props. It's sort of in a sort of magical film world. And especially if you watch the police are all dressed in vintage uniforms for some reason. So as I say, it's a sort of magical fictional film world. In fact, I love this film so much that I named my final student project at college, my short film, after it. I just ripped it off, basically. Um, um, the 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 acts that you see in this film, where Tommy is auditioning people to purchase their acts, they're the sort of acts I remember seeing a lot on TV in my childhood. As the sort of guest appearances on Paul Daniels' Magic Show, or they used to show circuses on TV, sort of on Saturday nights sometimes, or even the Royal Variety. It's a sort of pain to music hall and variety performing. It's a real sort of throwback, because of course Chelsom grew up in Blackpool, so this is sort of almost a sort of an ode to his own childhood. Um, it's a film that unwraps itself quite slowly. Perhaps, as you were saying with your review just before, there are maybe too many subplots to it, but it's so charming, and the second hour of the film really starts to reveal the sort of emotional heart of the film. Um, I mean, there's a line in it Tommy uses, is comedy madness or genius? He wants to find out, and he wants to take it right to the edge and do pirouettes, which by the end of the film, he manages to do. As I said, Chelsom's first two films are two of my favorite films ever. His debut film was Hear My Song, which I think is an absolutely gorgeous film, about the Irish tenor Joseph Locke, which stars Ned Beatty, Adrian Dunbar, and Tara Fitzgerald. He then made this, and then, unfortunately, as is often the case, he moved to Hollywood. And Hollywood, I mean, I love Hollywood, but it seems to be that it's what am I thinking? Barton Fink nails it. They see someone with talent and they cherry pick them and then put them in a box and make them do things that don't allow them to express their talent. So after he'd moved to Hollywood, he did a film called The Mighty, starring Sharon Stone, which did all right, but then he followed it up with Town and Country, starring Warren Beatty, Diane Keaton, and Goldie Hawn, and that went on to be one of the biggest box office flops in Hollywood history, because it grossed 10 million worldwide on a $105 million budget. That earned him the worst director at the Golden Raspberry Awards that year, and pretty much stunted his career. He's carried on directing, but for me, he's never recaptured the magic of those first two films. Lee Evans also moved to Hollywood after this, with an appearance in Luc Besson's Fifth Element, starring Gary Oldman, Bruce Willis, and Milla Jovovich. He then starred alongside Nathan Lane in the excellent Mouse Hunt, before roles in There's Something About Mary, The Martins, and The Medallion with Jackie Chan. And then his last film so far was 2005's Magic Roundabout, and since then he's focused more on stage acting and returning to his brilliant stand-up career. I'd say Platt has probably had the most successful career. He's appeared in Working Girl, Flatliners, and Indecent Proposal, and The Three Musketeers prior to Funny Bones. And then he starred in A Time to Kill, Lake Placid, Frost Nixon, and X-Men First Class. Funny Bones, it's all about getting to the root of comedy. It's all about the sort of tragedy inherent in comedy and in nostalgia. Someone has the line in the film, "Why do all the best things in life belong to the past?" And as I say, it's all about seeking out your roots, but then trying to use that to shape your future and your destiny. There's a scene in the middle where Evans does a nightclub act called Valve Radio, and it's called that's called a dummy act, where he sort of mimes along to bits of radio that he's pieced together, and it's actually an act that Jerry Lewis used to do, and it's an act that Evans used to do himself in his early stand-up career. I remember he did a brilliant routine where he would mime to Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. It's just one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and the scene in the film is an absolute work of genius. It's not a surprise you forgot Oliver Reed's in it, because his part was hugely cut down in the edit, and he only appears twice, unfortunately, but he's brilliant. Joanna Lumley was in it too, but she got completely cut out of the film. So as I say, it's not a major film. You may not have heard of it, but I highly recommend it. I think it's a wonderful film, very funny, very heartfelt. Lee Evans is brilliant, and as I say, that cast is worth your time any day of the week. So, as the film says, funny bones, either you got them or you don't. And I say, funny bones, either you get it or you don't. Give it a try. So that's my classic movie review for the week.
Sounds good. Lee Evans, I mean, I think there was too much Lee Evans at one point. Every time we put the telly on, he was on. And people forget how brilliant he is. What a great comic he is,
Absolutely. He had two fantastic TV series. One on Channel 4 called The World of Lee Evans, and another on the BBC, I forget the name of, but both absolutely brilliant. The Channel 4 one, especially because it was almost silent comedy. There was almost no dialogue at all, and it was just
very old-fashioned comic.
Yes, absolutely.
I quite like it because I like that kind of the kind of comic that uses their body to sort of. He's like almost like Chaplin, really. Same vein as Chaplin. Yeah.
Yeah, he could. It's very similar to there are some comedy films made in the 60s. There's one called The Plank, which has sort of the cream of British comedy in it, like Eric Sykes and Tommy Cooper turns up in it. But it's silent. No one speaks, and it's just the way it all works together is genius. He would have been sublime in that. But yeah.
Meet me in the foyer.
Wonderful. So, as a bonus, Linda has one more review for us this week. So Linda strolled back in with a bonus review, having been out with Francis Lawrence on a long walk.
I'm Ray Garrity. You can call me Ray.
Prima Breeze.
Hank Olson's the name. Walking's my game.
I ain't many that are built like me. I'm the last of my kind.
We did the very first long walk years ago to inspire everyday people.
Smile, boys. You're on candid camera. Man, you gotta not think about the things out of your control. Think about your plan.
Personally, I can't stop thinking about all that money.
You'll never find another like me. I'm the last of my kind.
Warning. Okay, just keep walking. That's right. Just keep walking. Yeah, that's it, kid. That's it.
Second warning. Third warning.
It takes heavy sack to sign up for this contest. I'm not gonna go through the whole rule book, but it boils down to this. If you fall below the speed of 3 miles per hour, you get your ticket. Walk until there's only one of you left. Who's ready to win?
Yeah, it took me a while to realize the truth of this. This is walk or die.
Warning. You'll walk as long as you can.
Warning.
But sometimes the body won't listen.
Warning.
For some, your heart will stop.
Warning.
For others, your brain.
Warning.
And the blood will flow suddenly.
Warning. Warning.
There's one winner.
Warning.
And no finish line.
I'm going to keep it short because obviously we don't want to make this show longer than it needs to be. But I'm very fresh from seeing this. I only watched it last night. So this is yet another Stephen King adaptation. This one is the one he wrote under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. And again, it's actually a fantastic, having, as a fan of King myself, I like all of his books. I like some books more than others, but this one's probably one of my faves. I just loved the storyline, I think. So let's start to talk about. So directed by Francis Lawrence, who's also someone who's worked on some incredible, really, titles, including Constantine, I Am Legend, Water for Elephants, all the Hunger Games movies, Red Sparrow from 2018, which didn't do really well, but should have done better. And then we've come into The Long Walk, and so this is a movie that has a really incredible cast. I'm going to start by mentioning David Jonsson, who is a fantastic young British actor who's been in a ton of things recently. I have to say he's like my favorite person in this movie. Cooper Hoffman, the son of Philip Seymour Hoffman, who we saw in his first ever movie when he was a star in it was Licorice Pizza, the Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
Yes.
That is again one of my favorite movies of all time, and he's done so well. He's done like he's also absolutely amazing. There's it's almost like I mean, there's quite a big cast here, but it feels more like a two-hander between him and David Jonsson, and they're both just incredible. It stars Garrett Wareing, Joshua Udjik, Charlie Plummer, fabulous, playing a really sort of comedic villain. Roman Griffiths Davis. I spare you the whole cast because it is actually quite a huge cast of up and coming Hollywood actors. The premise is in a dystopian United States. It's almost like a parallel universe in the United States where it's ruled by a totalitarian regime. A group of men of each year. It's almost like Hunger Game-ish, you know. Each year there's this celebration called the Long Walk where every young man puts their name for it, and 50 of them are chosen in a lottery to take part. The twist here is, I don't know if you don't want to hear the twist, switch off right now, but I'm going to say it in 1, 2, 3. The twist is that they have to walk for about 5 days, 400 miles, I think, or probably more than that. Actually, I can't remember, but I should have written it down. I can't remember. They must maintain the same speed, or at least 3 miles per hour, or they risk being executed after 3 warnings. So you understand where the sort of the stakes are high. I thought this was really, really well acted. Some of the dialogue I feel was a little bit too Kingish, and King has not moved on from 1970s and 80s and 90s. I feel like sometimes when you're adapting King, I think it's good to have like a good dose of modernization of language, and this feels very much like it's him talking. But I really like this. I thought the performances were just incredible. I don't know how well it's going to do. It feels to me like this has come out of nowhere, and I feel like there should have been more made out of this because of the caliber of the performances of the actors being here. Some really great performances. I just thought it was so good, and it's like, especially with what's happening in the US now and the sort of almost dystopian way things are looking, it's a good reminder to sort of understand where those kinds of politics can lead to. I just thought it was really well done. I thought it's about an hour and 45 minutes. I wasn't bored once. And those performances again by Cooper Hoffman and David Jonsson. David Jonsson in particular, just incredible. I would not be surprised to see them all nominated for something next year.
Wonderful. Yeah, Cooper Hoffman's just brilliant. Clearly talent can run in the genes because
it does. Yeah, it does. You know, people always go on about, like nepotism and nepo babies. There's a reason why there's nepotism. It's because people inherit that art from their parents, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, because he was great in Saturday Night, wasn't he? Just
it was
last year, I think. Fantastic. Does King write many books under pseudonyms? I hadn't realised he did.
A few, yeah, but I don't know how many. Don't hold me to. I have not looked into it, so I think he has written. Let me just see, and so yeah, actually, under Richard Bachman, he's written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He wrote The Running Man under Hoffman, under Bachman. It's Rage, The Long Walk, Roadwork, The Running Man, Thinner, the Bachman books, The Regulators, and Blaze.
Are they more? Would you say that they're all sort of more post-apocalyptic films?
Yeah.
Stories.
Yeah, mostly, and I also like you pick up that book, straight away it's Stephen King, so it's like it's got Stephen King all over it. It's difficult not to sort of the language is there, and if you've read as many Stephen King books as I have, it's impossible not to think it's him. So
there was one actor that you didn't mention. Is he a surprise? Because it's his second appearance in a film you've reviewed in the last couple of weeks.
Who have I missed out? I'm sorry. Who have I missed out?
No, you may have kept it secret. He last appeared in Life of Chuck. A certain man who's having a bit of a revival, a bit of a Return of the Jedi. If you.
Oh yeah. Of course, yeah. I actually, yes, I didn't mention him, but discover him. He's not a surprise, but you can discover him. Yeah.
Interesting though that he's having, as I say, a bit of a revival at the moment. A couple of films coming out, and this one certainly sounds more promising than that previous one that we shan't mention again.
Also, Drew DeGrea is also in this, and Josh Hamilton, who is like a fabulous. Last time I saw Josh Hamilton was in Reality. That's it, Reality.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I like a huge fan of his, and and Mark Hamill. Just to say that he plays the kind of the villain of the piece. So. And he's almost unrecognizable in this. That's it.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, of course, many people consider Hamill to be the best Joker, where he plays one of the ultimate villains when he voices the character in the animated.
He's a great actor.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Linda. That was great, and a nice little extra treat for us, and just making your decision even harder to make as you head down to the box office this weekend.
Well, that's not out till next week, obviously.
Very true. Well, so you'll be making multiple trips to the box office.
Meet me in the foyer.
All right, so let's round up with a bit of news. And what do we have for you? Quite a few trailers have started to appear as we're heading into films vying for award season and, of course, festival season. The first trailer we have for you is Bradley Cooper's new film, Is This Thing On?, starring Will Arnett.
Another one?
Yeah, one up.
All right, Alex Novak, downstairs in 2 minutes.
That's me.
Well, you better head down there then.
Where?
Just straight behind you, down the stairs.
Hey, what up, man? How you doing?
You see the light? Just get off, all right?
Straight women's experiences.
There you go. Just talk to him. Have fun.
Tell a joke.
I think I'm getting a divorce. What tipped me off was that I'm living in an apartment on my own. Yeah. And my wife and kids don't live there. That was probably the biggest clue. Not exactly sure what happened. Came home from work one day. Someone said, "Is this thing over?" Pretty sure it was her. Probably should have paid attention. That's what she meant about not paying attention.
real relationship is finding somebody you can also be unhappy with. Somebody who has your back. You stopped having each other's backs.
So what, you tell jokes?
Well, I mean, I try. It's more like kind of funny stories from my life. And
Oh, honey, I had no idea your life was this bad.
Yeah, what's funny about your life?
This is why she threw you out!
Are you gonna be okay?
I'm gonna be okay. I'll be okay.
Maybe at the London Film Festival, if you're going.
Absolutely, yes. That was announced. Their schedule was released today, wasn't it? And I had a brief look at that, and it looks absolutely jam-packed with quality films, and that could well be one of them. It reminds me of Tom Hanks' film. What was it? Was it called Stand Up with Sally Fields, which was a mediocre film, but this looks different. It's just there aren't many films
He's
about
such a good director. He's like, he's incapable of making a bad movie. So I think he's a fantastic director, really.
A Call of Duty adaptation is in the works. If war-based computer games are your thing, then this could be the movie for you. We also have a trailer for new Yorgos Lanthimos movie Begonia, starring, of course, his muse Emma Stone.
It all starts with something magnificent. A flower, then a honeybee. The workers gather pollen for the queen.
Good morning, Corey. Good morning, Michelle.
But the bees, they're dying. And that's the way they planned it. To make us the same as the bees.
Let's go again.
But it is not in control anymore. We are.
Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. There, my chest mirror.
How can you tell she's an alien?
Well, the signs are obvious. It all starts with something magnificent.
Osgood Perkins has said that his next film will be The Young People, starring Nico Parker and Lola Tung.
Nico Parker, she's doing well. She's up and coming.
Billy Zane is playing Marlon Brando, and he said he chose to play Brando as Brando would have played Brando, i.e. like a shit, in new biopic Waltzing with Brando, coming soon. Another film announced that will be appearing at the BFI Film Festival that we played you a trailer for just last week is Daniel Day-Lewis's return to cinema in Anemone. This just broke today, in fact. We've already got a trailer for 28 Years Later sequel, The Bone Temple, set for release 16th of Jan 2026, which,
we're looking forward to that.
if you can do your math, is exactly 28 weeks after the release of 28 Years Later.
Trying to predict the future is a discouraging and hazardous occupation. In fact, it may not even exist at all.
Oh, what is this? I cannot see. Oh, I am this. None can excel.
Many of the things we take for granted will one day pass away completely.
I open the door of heaven and hell.
When that time comes, men will no longer communicate. We may have diseases and barbarism. The whole world will cease to make any sense.
I open the door of heaven and hell.
Look at the incredible changes we've experienced and survived. And yet even greater changes are still to come.
Are you ready?
Lots of shall scream in hell.
Brilliant.
Boy, the clever boy, there, Danny boy. I have to disappoint you once again, Linda. I did watch this a couple of weeks ago, 28 years later. Not for me.
Really? Oh, come on.
No.
Fantastic movie.
The only bit that
Movie of the year, my opinion.
I thought that was Weapons.
Weapons is the horror movie of the year.
Oh, okay. No, just again, it's horror, so it just doesn't.
Okay, it's not your thing. Fair enough.
The only bit that grabbed my attention actually was the end scene. Finally getting to see what everyone had been talking about. So I was intrigued to find out what happens, but I can't imagine I'll watch the sequel.
Yeah, those characters would be in all of that, the next movie. So
Absolutely. And James Gunn has announced that his next Superman film that I mentioned just last week, I believe, will be called Superman Man of Tomorrow and will arrive in 2027. So that's the news for this week. And that's the end of another episode of Meet Me in the Foyer.
Yeah.
It's been an active week with horse riding, long walks, conjuring and comedy shows. Now it's time to treat your saddle sores, soak your weary feet, rest your weary funny bones, and relax until we meet in the foyer again next time for the latest box office news, releases, and chat, plus a classic alternative from me. So take care of those blisters. Meet me in the foyer with Linda again soon. And until then, take care.
Adios.
Thanks very much.
Meet me in the foyer.